Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Anime King 2. And today I'm going to be giving you a brand new episode part 2 of What If Naruto Got a New Tail Beast from the Shinigami. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If, well, brand new series. What if Naruto got all Krama powers before the Chunin exam's over Anime King? And enjoy that, guys. And also, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, I have 3 channels. Yes, you have not misheard that. 3 channel, guys. And I post what if on every single day. Yes, every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking about to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say we jump right into this new episode? Start the intro. So the last time we left off, Naruto Namikaze was not a normal boy. He was born with a weak body. His body was exceptionally weak. Growing up, he knew that his parents were not always being straight with him. As he asked them numerous times to train him, but they told him that he had to focus on his sisters for now. His sisters, Mito and Erza, had the Kyuubi seal inside of them. Both of them had half of the beast, and he had none. So while his sister worked on his parents, while he had to stay in his room, whenever he asked, they looked at him like he was glass, like he would shatter if they even tried to train him. They never taught him how to unlock his chakra. But Naruto decided that it was about time he did something about that. So with that, he made his way towards an outcropping behind his family home. When they were not there, making his way out there, it didn't take long for him to sit down. He had gotten information not too long ago. So with that, he started to meditate. He looked for that source of energy, that blue glow that the note said. But to his confusion, he couldn't find anything. That made him become rather angry, thinking that he wasn't able to have chakra at all. As he started to pull and pull and pull. As he didn't find anything until he finally saw something. An abyss of darkness. He saw a purple orb. It was then that he heard a voice telling him to strike it with the knife that he had, as he was surprised he had a knife in here. So with that, he cut right through it and he fell into it. It felt so excruciating at first, until it felt warm and soft. He felt all the pores in his body open up. He could literally feel everything around, the ants in the ground, the birds, distance away, everything. Then the pain came back with full force as he collapsed. He must have blacked out, but when he woke up, he was on the stone. The bird that died earlier that he had hit the kunai with, he saw it. Approaching the bird, he saw a strange glow. He didn't know what it was, but he subconsciously opened his mouth so wide that he did not even notice how wide he was opening his mouth. As he swallowed a purple view that came from the bird, he felt so much more stronger. He shrugged it off because he had to go home, so he made his way back. The next morning, it was his birthday. His sisters came to greet him in the morning. As his family set up the day, he never got a chance to speak to his mother or father because of the whole party thing. When the night finally came, Itachi came by. Out of the others, Naruto only speak to Itachi and Shikamaru mostly. The others didn't know how to deal with him, afraid that he might say something offensive, or they didn't know how to deal with him because he never really hung out with them. Itachi was the one that told him about the chakra thing, so with that he was grateful. He also gave him a poster with a seal on the back. Something was inside. As Naruto pretended that it was a normal poster, it was then that his father announced that he would be teaching his daughters the Rasengan. As Naruto lost it, Shikamaru tried to stop him, but Naruto gave him a look as his eyes flashed a dark crimson, frightening Shikamaru. It was then that Naruto made an outburst, causing everyone to look. As he started to shout at them, Jiraiya decided to cut in as he told Naruto that he will never be a ninja. Naruto ran off with tears in his eyes as Kushina went after him. Jiraiya wasn't all that much in Naruto's life because he didn't want to lie to him. Minato and Kushina made things a lot harder when they tried to tell Naruto that they would train him one day, but Jiraiya knew that would hurt him in the long run. He told them numerous times to tell the kid right now, but they refused. So he decided to get it over with. As much as it might make him look like a bad guy, he decided to do it. Kushina came and she greeted Naruto and told him everything. About when he was born, the doctors, what they said to them. And if it was a chance between his life or unlocking his chakra, she will never allow him to do that. She loved him too much, as she hugged him. She told him that they would talk tomorrow. The next day, Naruto was hell-bent on telling him about his chakra, but his parents got called away for a meeting. He decided to snuck out the house. It was then that he fell into a unknown location in his mind. That is where he met someone that looked exactly like him, except his hair was white, and not to mention his eyes and his teeth as well. It was him, but he told Naruto to call him Yu. Yu then went on to explain that he was a piece of the Shinigami. His father did something all those years ago when he sealed Kyuubi. However, his father changed the seal at the last moment because he was supposed to die. But because he wanted to live with his family, he decided to change the seal. And something happened to Naruto. A remnant of death fell inside of Naruto. And that is how Yu was born. They were the same, but Yu had more knowledge than Naruto could ever dreamed of. It was then that Yu pointed as Naruto saw behind him. There was a graveyard. The place was dark and shaded. In front of him there was a bright, full of life. The place was luscious. It was then that Naruto saw the bird that he had absorbed. It was then that Yu told him what it was for. Absorbing their engine made him stronger. As Naruto got curious, there was he wonder, what would appear on the other side? As Yu decided to explain. So yeah guys, basically let's pull it off. You guys can switch across play check of yourself. So what do you say we jump right into this new episode? Naruto, I am not normal. I don't eat human food. Because of the way the seal sucked me in. It worked differently. You take my characteristics, and I also take yours as well. Our bodies are mixed together. The doctors were unaware of this, so they diagnosed you with that disorder, but that is completely wrong. All you need to do was to unlock your chakra so you could see the souls and then eat them. That is why I helped you find the last time. So the more souls I eat, the healthier I get, said Naruto. Basically yes, said Yu. Your body has adapted to nature to help you survive. The hawk you saw earlier was the one that you absorbed. Your mind is the afterlife for those souls. Once you eat them, they become imprisoned here. Their energy feeding both of us, while they continue to live on. That is why it's split in half. The light is a pure world, and the darkness is the impure world. But animals don't have the same awareness like humans, meaning they can't be good or evil or responsible for their actions, unlike humans. Naruto listened as he watched a hawk reappear and disappear several times in the trees. I can see the life of the souls when they come. When you eat a human soul, it is I who processes them. The wall is a border between two lands, only a barrier that we can cross. To put it more simply, you are the outer Naruto while I am the inner Naruto. And together we are one. Unlike the Jinchurikis though, we are a symbiotic life form. We cannot survive without working with each other. And if one of us dies, the other will quickly follow. As for all my claims, I am not the true Shinigami. I am not immortal, or do I have complete control over death. As Naruto looked at him, he didn't know why, but he understood. He couldn't explain, but he knew what he was saying was true. Yu then turned and looked away. Naruto, you need to leave the Hidden Leaf Village. Naruto's eyes widened. What? But why? Yu walked over as he sat on the edge of pure world. Naruto, do you know what Jinchurikis are used for? Besides containing tail beasts. Naruto sat down and shook his head in the negative. Yu turned and faced Naruto as he gave him a conflicted look. They might be the same age, but Yu had fragments of memories and knowledge that Naruto could not comprehend at this time. This made him more experienced. In Yu's eyes, Naruto was still young and naive. They are weapons, used as a deterrent, and when necessary, for war. Your status as the son of the Hokage may be enough to protect you and your sisters from the worst of it, but the fact is you're one of a kind, even amongst other Jinchurikis. There has never been a Jinchuriki for anything other than tail beasts, let alone with the abilities that you possess. You are unique, you have the potential to become very powerful. And even in the Leaf Village, there are people who will try to use you for their own gain. But my family, you cut him off. they would probably fight and die to protect you at first. But the fact is they also have the interests of the village to look out for. Why do you think it's so important for Mito and Erza to learn how to control the Nine Tails chakra and not suppress it? While it is in their best interest anyway, it is also for the village interest for them to be stronger. More than many in the eyes of most, you would be an abomination, a being that needs to feast on souls of the others to survive. I doubt even our family could do much against that backlash. And I fear what will happen if that knowledge were to be brought to the world so early. People fear what is alien to them, and we are more than unnatural, Naruto. Naruto found himself unable to look at you at this point, his eyes becoming hollow as he thought about how his family would react. A part of him hoped that he would accept him, but that part was swallowed by the fear that they would not. Naruto had after all seen the reaction of the people of Konoha when they thought that, well, they weren't looking. The civilians, some of them looked at his sister with fear and hate, and they were the prized children of the Hokage, and yet they still look at them that way. Imagine what they would look at him as, the black sheep of the family, how they would treat him. His presence already unnerved people. From the way he looked and the way he acted, it would become 1,000 times worse than before. And in Naruto's young mind, his parents, who already lied to him, proving themselves untrustworthy, they might also not accept him if they found out the truth. He looked up with the fear of abandonment and isolation. It was written all over his face as you placed a hand on his shoulder. Naruto, I'm not telling you this to hurt you. And if you want to stay here, I will never say anything about this again. But you needed to hear this. People have been looking for a way to avoid or control death since man first discovered the concept. And with that, you are a 5-course meal placed right in front of a pack of starving wolves. At the moment they don't know that you're there, but when they find out, they will fight each other and then eat you alive. And nothing and no one will be able to protect us, not even ourselves, unless we get stronger. Naruto started to cry a bit as his shoulders started to tremble as you tightened his grip on Naruto's shoulder. I understand, we have to leave, said Naruto. It's not safe for us here anymore, and I don't know if mom and dad would support us. I can't trust them anymore. Then we need to go, to carve our own path in this world, to become so powerful that we don't have to rely on anyone. You watch as the fire in Naruto started to ignite. As Naruto knew that he was right, and as he stood there on that wall, between dark and light, he made a decision. He will become strong, he will become powerful, and never again would he ever feel weak and powerless. Never, ever again. Time skip. In the end, Naruto did not tell his family about unlocking his chakra, nor did he say anything about training or chakra for the next few weeks. In fact, he went out of his way to be nice and quiet, even going as far as sit out in the shade and watch Mito and Erza train. His family thought that it was him finally accepting that he would never be a ninja, and that he was finally moving on. But he had not. So when no one was looking, he started to prepare. He already had everything planned. He knew how he was going to get past the gate guards, and he knew where he was going to go as well. All that he needed to do now is wait for the right time to leave. At the moment, he unsealed the things that Itachi gave him as he placed them on his bed. The seal had hidden a lot more than he expected. It also had more room to place more things inside. There was a rather thick grey coat, grey and black. Inside it was warm fur. It was big as it reached down to his knees. The hood covered everything around his face, and the sleeves stretched down past his hands. It was warm and cozy, and also it provided him with camouflage in a dark area. There were also 3 scrolls, one that lists the basic chakra, exercises, and also the other 2 that was based on writing seals. The last was about the different hand signs, how they regulate the chakra to the body, and how the hand signs should be done. Then there was a blade, a sheath knife. No guard was on it. It looked like the blade that Anvus carry. It was polished to a shine, which confused Naruto a bit because blades weren't really polished, because they might alert the ninjas if the spark of anything might reflect on it. There was also a blank forehead protector. These were worn by ninjas that weren't missing names, but they didn't have a home village. Ninjas like that were very rare these days though. But before the hidden villages, there was a lot of them. If you remember correctly, they were called Lone Nin, or Wandering Nin. There was also a compass. The last thing that was left inside was a box. There was a note attached to it. True ninjas start as a blank slate, carving and shaping themselves through a time of training, casually working on themselves over time until the mask they create is their true face. Carve your own mask and prove them all wrong, forever doubting you. And remember, fear can be as lethal as any weapon. You just need to learn how to use it. Give the world a reason to respect and fear you. Itachi Uchiha. Naruto sat down. Itachi had unknowingly given Naruto everything that he needed to start on his journey, as he used the kunai and carved into the wood. Now it was just a matter of time to wait for the right moment. The next day, Naruto told his family that he would go to Nara compound to see his friend Shikamaru to play a game of chess. Kushina offered to walk him there, but he told her that it would be fine, that he would come back the moment he was done. Once he was sure that she wasn't following him, he moved off to a different location to scroll on chakra control exercises in his pocket. After reading the scroll, he decided that he should at least try one before he left, and try to at least learn it. The first he was going to try was tree walking. That was useful in general. He removed his shoes as he looked at the tree in front of him. He ran towards it, trying his best, only for him to drop straight off. Crap, he yelled as he rubbed his arm that he landed on. He started to pump more chakra into his feet as he ran towards the tree once again. This time when he hit the tree, he was blown backwards as he crashed in the clearing. He groaned before pulling himself upwards. It was then that he saw a black mark on the tree, an indentation of his foot. He moved closer. It wasn't burned or destroyed, it seemed like it was rotten. Like this section of the tree had died, while the rest was healthy. Well, that was something, he thought. Time skip. Naruto narrowed his gaze, he held out his arms. A grayish-blue mass of chakra moved around the clearing, its eyes glowing. It was in the shape of a hawk, but it had no features except for the glowing eyes and the wings. There was nothing else, no face, no beak, nothing. Just a pure chakra. As Naruto started to sweat as he held out his arms, until he lost it as he stopped, dropping his arms. The chakra flew back right into him. Better, but still not enough, the voice of Yu said in his mind. Again. Naruto sighed as he went through hand sign. Soul release. Spirit summon jutsu. When he said that, the grey, blue chakra leave his body and form into a rat. It also had purple glowing eyes like the hawk. He then moved his hand to the left as the rat climbed up. Before coming down towards him and stopped, it just looked at him. The rat then crawled and sat right on his feet as he felt the cold sensation. This was the first jutsu that he had made himself, with the help of Yu and the scroll as well. He was creating his own style that he got from being the Jinchuriki of Death. He saw both his father and Jiraiya perform the summoning jutsu, so he decided to give it a twirl with his own mix. It had taken time to figure out the current sequence and the correct mix, but he was getting there. The jutsu took the same amount of chakra that it took from Naruto gaining the soul, and once it was released, the chakra returned back to him, minus a little, depending on how long it was summoned and what he had it doing. From what him and Yu had worked out, the souls that he devoured, they were like batteries, as he could pull on that soul battery and use it. Not to mention it also made him stronger, but if he used too much of it, it wouldn't be able to recharge, and it would destabilize and disperse. And the problem was, it was hard to control the life form. If he did not control it, it will act like a normal animal, and just move around and do its own thing. But the advantage of being able to control animals like this was rather great. Along with absorbing a new soul, he also got their memories, but just from a few days, or probably a few months back. It was a bit odd at first, and it also gave him some headaches, but he had gotten used to it. And the thing was, his spirits, they can move through solid objects, but when he summoned them as spirits, once he brought them back in, he got all of their memories, he saw what they saw. As it was becoming a rather useful jutsu, he could already see the benefit of using this as a scout, but he just needed to get better at it. As he released the rat as the chakra flew back in his body. Time skip. As it turned out, his chance to escape came sooner than he expected. Barely 4 weeks after his 10th birthday, his parents was once again called to another council meeting, and just like last time they left him with his sisters. He waited about an hour until he told them he was going to bed, neither of them questioning him. Once he was in the room, he started to pack and gather everything up. He then placed the cloak on as he climbed to the window As he made his way down, as he made his way through the patch in the fence, making his way towards the north gate, he had timed it perfectly as he waited for the caravans, the last few to leave before the gates were locked. As he started counting his head, 1, 2, 3, he jumped and rolled right on the caravan. As he looked up towards the thing, he then channeled chakra to his feet and hands and stick to the bottom, using the coat to blend into the shadows. He tried to make himself as comfortable as possible as the thing started to move. Meanwhile, with Mito, she ignored the sweat dripping on her face, the pumping of her heart faster and the ache in her muscles. All her focus was on the punching bag in front of her, as she nailed it to grab its strikes. She could also hear Erza on the other side of the indoor training room, the sound of the spear in her hand cutting through the air, as she went through the forms that the mother has taught her when teaching her Kinjutsu. This was how Mito kept her mind off everything though, in her life, a chance to clear her mind. She knew that Erza had a similar method, instead she would practice with her weapons, until her muscle memory stick in. The both of them were trying to distract themselves from thinking about one same thing, their brother Naruto. Mito could remember when they were much younger, when he came to their room in the middle of the night, asking to stay with them because he had a nightmare. But that had been years ago, and it seems like it was such a long time ago, and it gave the two of them a depressing feeling. He was always so small and fragile. He was more like a little brother than one who was the same age with them. When their mother and father started to train them, they were so excited they never even noticed that Naruto was being left out, until weeks later. By the time they did, he was different, flinching away from their touch and all that, and he didn't ask for much help. But sometimes Mito saw that look on his face, and it felt like she was being stabbed in the chest each time. But after the party, things seemed to have changed. He started to smile once again. He even started to come outside. He was even talking to them once again, making an effort to become part of the family. It wasn't the same as before they started training, but it was better than it has been for a very long time now. It almost seemed like their family was on track to be happy once again. But it was also a lie. Mito could see it. She was sure that Erza could see it as well. The looks that Naruto would send them when he thought no one is looking. The tension of his shoulders when he made physical contact with them. The smile never truly going up to his eyes. She asked her mother about it, but Kushina said that she would take care of it. But that just didn't seem right. Why did Naruto have to be left out? While they go to the academy, now that they were 10 years old, they will be going to the academy for the next 3 years. Naruto wouldn't be joining them though. Mito released a grunt as she started putting more power in her punches as she struck the bag in front of her. After a good 5 minutes, she finally stopped as she drew in some deep breaths. As she turned to see her sister Erza with a spear in front of her. Erza, we have to do something. This isn't right, said Mito. Erza sighed as she picked up the spear and returned it back to where it was. I know, Mito, but what can we do? Mom and Dad are right. Naruto is just too delicate. Shinobi training is pretty brutal. It might actually kill him. We don't know that. Maybe he could learn Genjutsu, said Mito, as she tried to think of less intense form of arts that her brother could practice. Erza thought it over before she shook her head with a frown. He needed to unlock his chakra, and even that is too risky, with his body so weak. Mito growled in frustration as she hated when Erza used logic like that. But before she could say anything, the door opened up as Kushina poked her head in. Hey girls, dinner is almost ready. Have you seen your brother? He went to take a nap not long after you and Dad left for the council meetings with Erza. Kushina told him to set the table as the both of them groaned as she made her way. When Kushina arrived to his room, the window was open, and there was no sign of Naruto in sight. She closed the window as she checked every part of the room before she decided to look somewhere else. She went to the library. No one has been in there. She checked the girl's room. She came to a stop as she brought her hand up, as she spread her sensory ability to try and find him. Even with his chakra lock, she'd be able to find him. Even while not active, every living being had a small amount of chakra. But after checking for the third time, she did not feel anything. As she started to worry, she broke the hand signs. As she quickly went downstairs, the girls finished setting the table for dinner. Hey Erza, are you sure that Naruto did not went out? Maybe did not compound to visit his friend, Shikamaru? She asked, a worried look on her face. As Erza turned her head towards Kushina, both girls looking confused. No, he definitely said he was going to take a nap. Right, Mito? It was at that moment Minato came in. Yeah, said Mito. Kushina's hand started to shake as Minato noticed Kushina What's wrong? Where's Naruto? I... I don't know, she said. Meanwhile, with Naruto, 2 hours of sticking to the caravan, a bumpy road, and not to mention a painful leg cramp, he was ready to make his next move. As he pulled out one of his old shirts and tied it to the caravan, he then dropped as he rolled. As he rolled right into a small ditch, he just waited, he did not move, until the caravan kept on moving. Once he was sure that no one saw him, he sighed in relief. He got to his feet as he worked the kinks out of his body after being stuck like that for the past 2 hours. He then pulled out the compass that Itachi got him. As he turned south and started to walk, moving towards the closest port town, where he'd find a boat that would take him to his destination. As he walked for the next hour, at one point he hit a rabbit, and after eating a soul, he wrapped the body up to be cooked later. The sun had long set by this point. The only thing lighting his way was the moonlight. As Naruto then channeled chakra to his feet, before he jumped off the ground, he landed on a tree branch as he looked to where he once stood. All living things had chakra, but his was different. His chakra seemed to kill, while more like left an imprint of death. As he looked towards the grass below him that he had stepped on with his chakra, it was brown and withered away. It wouldn't be enough to kill people or animals, but plants and trees were different. Until he had better control, his chakra would kill any plant life it came in contact with. That is why he waited. That is why he walked so far before he used his chakra, as everyone could find the trail of footprints that were burned in the ground if he had used it back then. He was heading to the east coast of Land of Fire, where he would take a boat and head towards Land of Whirlpools, his mother's old home, after a joint attack by the mist, cloud and rock. The hidden whirlpool had been destroyed a long time ago, and the island was abandoned ever since. Finding a ship to take him there wouldn't be too easy. Meanwhile, with Kushina, as she rushed through the Land of Fire, as she was behind Kakashi who was following his main dog summon, Pakon, they found her descent leading out of the North Gate. On either side of her were 2 envoys, with 2 others scanning the surroundings as they looked for any sign of the Fort Kage-san. Kushina was getting more worried. They would soon come to the border between Konoha and the Land of Rice. That was bad. Really bad. Whoever took him could hide their scent very well, but they seemed that they couldn't do the same for Naruto. Oddly enough though, the kidnappers were sticking to the road as they traveled, which made no sense to the trained shinobis. If they didn't want to be tracked, why would they stick to the road? Or maybe that was the point. Maybe they were trying to lead them in this direction. In the end, all Kushina could worry about was who took him, and why would anyone take Naruto in the first place? Considering the path they were going, she expected Kumo. They had a history of trying to steal Konoha ninjas, with their history with her and not to mention with the Hyuga heiress. Luckily though, on both occasions they were stopped by Minato, and the persecutors were given swift justice. But with Naruto, if they wanted to start a branch family, they would have go after the girls, not Naruto. With their natural abilities and their skills with Fuinjutsu, it made Kushina and her children a very high possible target for many villages. Earth Country was a possibility as well. The Hidden Rock always hated Minato, enough to take Naruto. They always believed that he had some sort of bloodline that he never revealed. But if it was them, they were going the wrong direction, and she didn't even want to think what they would do to him if it was them. But the truth was, it could be any of the other hidden villages. Even their allies were not above suspicion. The closer they got to the border, the closer tears in their eyes started to form. Then it happened. Kakashi's pack came to a stop. Kushina was able to hold herself together for about 5 seconds before she rushed to leap over the border, but wooden beams wrapped around her tightly. Before she could move an inch, she was wrapped around. She didn't care though as she rushed around wildly until she found out she couldn't escape. She then turned her head. "Let me go, Tenzo!" she yelled. The other shinobi shift uncomfortably at the amount of venom in her tone. "I'm sorry, Lady Kushina, but I cannot allow you to cross the border without asking Daimyo for his permission first. The Land of Rice is currently allied with Earth Country, making it hostile territory. Entering it without consent could be an act of war." The now named Tenzo said, "I don't care! Let me go!" A creaking sound could be heard. The envoys and Kakashi all tense as they realized the wood was cracking. Kakashi rushed over, keeping his distance just in case. She was known for her fiery temper, combined with her skills made her a frightening shinobi. "Lady Kushina, please calm down and think. You can't help Naruto by starting the next Great Shinobi War. The trail has gone cold for now. What we need to do is return to the village, so that Minato can call Jiraiya. He can start the trail once again. So please, just stop." She was still struggling slightly as tears streamed down her face. When Tenzo finally released her, she dropped to her knees as she cried. her frail son being taken out of the big wide world by forces unknown. She broke down to tears as Kakashi tried to comfort her as best as he could, but it was hard, seeing her like this. Time skip. Naruto was confused as he saw lights ahead of him. Pulling out the map, he shouldn't hit the coast for another 2 days. So what were those lights? There shouldn't be anything out here. He was confused. He debated walking into the village as he put away the map, but if he tried to go around it, and he was found, that would raise more suspicion. He was brought out of his thoughts though when he heard a scream. A female. It sounded like several others as he heard screaming. He moved closer. What he saw, his eyes widened. The buildings that made up the settlement, they were on fire. It seems like all the people inside were being hurled into a settlement by ninjas. They were dressed in all black. All that could be seen was their eyes. They had headbands on. It was a musical note. Several others started to set the buildings on fire as they were pushing the people inside. They were pushed and kicked until they were in a large circle with the shinobis all around them. He could see them quite clearly, as it was 11 of them. He could see the blue outline around them. The outline was a lot stronger around shinobis. One of them stepped forward and pulled his mask down. He was smirking. "Alright, you little shits. I'm gonna make this easy on you. Tell us where the boy is, and you will live. We know that he was in Era recently, and we know that he was here a day ago. You know who I'm talking about. Tell us, and you live." Naruto had no idea who the boy was, but from looks on the people's faces, clearly they did. But they seemed to not know. As a man spoke, he was here a few hours ago. But we don't know where he is now. He's just passing through. The leader threw a kunai toward his face. Naruto was preparing to stop this. As he was about to jump down, the muscles in his legs tightening. Something strange happened though. The kunai stopped right in front of the villager's face. As Naruto heard a small chuckle, the voice sounding a bit teasing. You know, it's not nice to throw things in people's faces. That's rude. Very, very rude. What would your mother think? Naruto glanced around as he saw someone stand on one of the buildings. The blue outline around him was rather strong. A boy. He looked to be a few years older than Naruto, probably in his early teens. He had dull grey hair that fell just above his eyes. A pair of round glasses that caught light in a way that made them shine in the darkness. His eyes hidden behind the glasses. He had a massive grin on his face, and clenched in between his teeth was a cigarette. As Naruto saw several scars, with the stitches still in his skin. He was quite slim, wearing a brown shirt and black shorts. He was also wearing an odd white coat. It looked like a lab coat. It was too big for him as it went over his arms, the bottom reaching down to the ground. He also had a shovel strapped to his back. As Naruto saw, there was still dirt on it. Overall, he was quite unusual. In fact, he looked deranged. He also noticed the boy had his arm outstretched, with his sleeve pulled up. His fingers were bent slightly. The hand was a pale white color with stitch in it. It was then that Naruto saw it something that was being illuminated by the flames. Wire. No, it was too thin to be ninja wire. Whatever it was made up of hundreds of strings, shooting all over the area. It was like spider web, and all of them were connected to the boy's arm. Yes, just like a spider web, with the shinobis down there being the traps, the flies. They were caught in the web, with no way out. The reason the kunai got stopped because it got tangled in the strings. It was unable to cut the wire. It was really strong, it seems. The shinobis saw the strings as well. The one that was smirking first, the leader. All the confidence seemed to drain away from his face when he noticed it. It was like a big bad shark. Notice an even bigger, badder shark. The boy leaped as he jumped down. With a single flick of his finger, one of the shinobis lost his head, the other one lost his arm, and another lost his leg. Naruto could see all the strings in the darkness his eyes, fitting for the settlement. As he watched the strings move and slice through the shinobis, 8 of them were left. 8 pissed off shinobis at watching their friends go down so easily. The one that was speaking before turned, but he got a slice on his cheek. "You little shit. You know you will never get away with this. He will just send more. You will never escape." The man shouted out, but there was a feeling of fear and anxiety in his voice. But the boy simply leaned forward as he lit his cigarette on the flame. "You talk a lot, don't you? I can always fix that if you want. I always wonder what it would be like to remove someone's voice box. I know that most go for the tongue, but after so many years, that's a bit cliche and boring, is it not? as the boy breathed out smoke from his mouth, from drawing on the cigarette. He then twitched two more fingers. Another scream as a shinobi was bisected along the waist, as another was sliced vertically. The boy stepped back as a grim, serious look came on his face, as he looked at the man in front of him. You know, I think I have a better plan for you. He twitched his index finger. Only one got killed, the top of his head falling off. After all, I could always use some extra parts. Another twitch, another two dead. And it's so hard to find volunteers. Another twitch. The leader was the only one remaining, as all of his men were dead. He looked right and left, like he wanted to run for it. He twitched his finger, this time the strings wrapped around the man's body. They dug in deeply, but they did not cut him. His eyes were wide in panic as he was unable to move. He was able to speak though. Damn you, Frankenstein. Damn you to hell! The now named Frankenstein tilted his head to the side, as he smiled, uncaring of the curses. Where would be the fun in that? And with a last twitch, the shinobi fell to pieces on the ground. Naruto watched as the now named Frankenstein pulling his strings, as Naruto noticed that he was wearing a wrist guard. The loggers and the families were running into the woods, using the distraction that was caused by Frankenstein to run away. They didn't even look back as the odd boy waved them off, with a smile on his face. They seemed to be even afraid of him than the shinobis that he just killed. Naruto watches Frankenstein walk over towards the bodies. The boy was so casual about the whole thing, his hands in his pockets. He was just indifferent. It was then that Naruto saw them, the souls floating above them. Each of them were almost completely black, except for a blue spot here and there, and the glowing white orb in the center. As Naruto remembered what you said about the souls going to the pure world or the impure world, he also said that tainted soul would be obvious, and these souls, they were tainted. Naruto felt the saliva pooling in his mouth at sight of them, his stomach growling. It took his self-restraint to not jump down there and devour them, so great that he started to leave indent on the tree branch that he was on, as he gripped into it tightly. He turned as he saw Frankenstein digging through the bodies. Naruto took his backpack off and pulled out a mask that he was still in the process of making. He needed to add a few seals to it. He had understood seals a little enough to not make it blow up in his face. The mask was in two parts. One covered the bottom half and one covered the top part. It was made to look like a demonic skull, with large, sharp teeth. Well, whether it came that way was debatable because he was just 10 years old. He was not an expert craftsman after all. The two parts were separated at the mouth so he can open it and curve, so it covered the side of his face. Two white lines going from top to the bottom cutting through each of the eye holes, while the rest of it was painted black. It was a shoddy job because it was done by a child, but it did its job. It hid his identity, using a bit of his chakra to keep the mask in place. He covered his head with his hood as he jumped down and started to walk towards the bodies. Frankenstein's back was turned to him as Naruto moved like a predator. As he calmly walked slowly, making no sounds, he walked forward to the first soul. His hand got coated in his unique chakra as he reached out to grab it. You told him, for the more powerful souls, he needed to make contact. Use his physical chakra to make contact with it. Animal souls were weak, he could simply devour those easily. You told him that the more powerful the soul, the more chance of the soul trying to fight him back. And if he tried to push him, he should use his will and chakra to bear it down. His finger brushed against it when he felt something tapping his shoulder. Naruto reached for his knife, but what was said next confused him. Hey you, which one of these do you think look healthier? Naruto jumped away as he held his knife out ready to fight. But the boy, well, he didn't look like he wanted to fight. Instead, he was holding up two organs in front of Naruto. Naruto was confused. He could feel everything that was alive. How did he not feel him coming up towards him? That was impossible. He looked up towards Frankenstein, who was weighing the two organs. He did not seem to mind Naruto's presence one bit. Frankly, he didn't seem to care. It was then that Naruto saw his eyes. It was a golden yellow color. It's so hard to find healthy kidneys, you know. Usually they get poisoned with sick or rotten. No use at all. But these don't look so bad, do they? They look quite good, actually. I think I'll keep them for later. Lungs on the other hand, well, you won't believe how much of those I go through. I'm actually thinking of replacing the ones I'm using at the moment. They're getting a bit worn out. As he looked away from Naruto and looked towards kidneys, Naruto watched as he walked over to a growing pile of organs and placed the kidneys on top. He also saw another pile of limbs and another pile made up of decapitated heads. He had to ask, what are you doing? Recycling. I never get to pick through anything this fresh. Not an ounce of rot or a single worm. Those lungs look good for now. Naruto watched as he pulled out lungs as he examined it. with a cheerful smile. "What?" said Naruto. "Just 1 second," he said. Without a second, he took off his lab coat as Naruto saw his body. Multiple patches. His skin looked like a shirt that was sewn together. He also had a pair of bolts sticking outside of his neck. Naruto watched as he used a scalpel and cut his own chest, cutting the strings that attach. Naruto's eyes went wide as he shoved his own hand in his chest. He moved around as Naruto saw no blood. Finally, he seemed to find what he was looking for, as he turned his gaze back towards Naruto. "If you're squeamish, you might want to look away. This is about to get very graphic, very fast." Before Naruto had time to look away, the guy ripped out his own lungs. He then pushed the other lungs that he took from Shinobi in his chest, as he placed his other hand in there as well, 2 hands roaming around his chest. Then he started to talk again, his voice slightly wheezy. You know, you never notice how much you breathe until you don't have a pair of lungs. It's very uncomfortable. 5 minutes of moving around his own chest, he then took a gasping breath, as Naruto saw him lose a casual attitude. It returned a second later though, with that insane grin on his face. Nothing like a new organ to get the heart pumping. No wait, yeah, that one is good for now. As he pulled one of his strings from the bracer, it was then that Naruto noticed the bracer was bolted down to the arm. The metal was driven right into the skin. At the end of each string looked like a sewing needle was attached. He re-sewed his chest back up and used a scalpel to cut the thread. Naruto wanted to be sick, he really did, but it just wasn't coming up, and he was forced to put up with the turning of his stomach. It was then that he saw Frankenstein turn toward the soul. Naruto's eyes widened as he realized, when his chakra made contact with the soul, anyone could see it. Otherwise, it could not be seen by anyone but him. He tried to wave them off from touching his prize, as Frankenstein's finger passed right through it. "What the hell is this? Did you make this?" It looked like a mass of floating chakra, as Naruto stepped in front of him. "What the hell are you?" he asked, as he tried to distract him, but he really was curious as well. Frankenstein slapped himself over the forehead. "Oh, where are my manners?" he said. "My name is Victor Frankenstein. That was the name I was given. Well, I guess all names are given by someone. Oh right, I remember. I was named after my great-great-great-grandfather, who was some important guy back in the day or something. I'm also known as a grave robber, on the count of me recycling bodies. I mean burying them in the ground in such a waste. You know, I once found a perfectly good stomach and spinal cord in the same grave. And they say I am mad." He threw his head back and started to laugh, as Victor offered Naruto a hand to shake. As Naruto realized it wasn't his hand, he had picked up a severed hand and offered for Naruto to shake. They spent the next hour talking, as he kept on piling up the bodies. With his back turned, Naruto kept on grabbing the souls and devouring them, as he ignored the surge of energy and the memories that flashed in his mind. He will have to go through his mindscape later with you, and go through the memories. It turns out that Victor was a member, one of the last members of a clan that has been in hiding for decades. They were apparently well known before the Hidden Villages were formed. They started to die out after the forming of the Hidden Villages, but that was because no one wanted them to join them. There were several clans that dropped off the map because they didn't want to join the villages, or they refused to join them. Banned, mostly. These clans were called rogue clans, and they dropped off the map. The Frankenstein clan was a clan of medical ninjas. Well, of a sort. Victor's ancestor discovered a way to separate his chakra network from his physical body, while still using both. This led to what was called the living corpse jutsu, and that led for them to become zombies. As long as they had chakra, they could live, despite the damage that was done to them. But if they ran out before replacing, well, they died. There was more to it, but Naruto did not ask for more details. He didn't want to. The clan was a clan of immortals, basically. They grew to maturity, but when they reached their peak, they stopped growing. But they started to rot the older they got. But as long as they had chakra, they could replace their organs. They also had no sense of pain, so they could replace their organs easier. But they could not self-heal at all, a fallback of their bloodline. But they could just take another body part and attach it to theirs. That was one of the main reasons why they were not allowed in the Hidden Villages. During the time of war, the Frankenstein clan became infamous for their magical ninja skill and also their method. But after the wars ended, they lost their recycled material. They were forced to grave rob for body parts, which made others uncomfortable around them. Things had gotten better during the Shinobi Wars, but each time there were peace, their numbers started to drop and drop and drop. As Naruto found himself feeling sorry for the older boy, almost his whole clan was either in dead or hiding, and he was forced to scavenge to survive. But the Frankenstein was not the only clan that has been through this. Naruto had read a book about several. And these shinobis from before. He had heard his father talking about a new group, the Sound Shinobis. It turns out that the new, self-proclaimed Sound Kage had taken an interest in the Frankenstein clan, and he was sending shinobis to invite Victor. Invite was a loose term here, to the village, but they were cannon fodder to Victor. That is what he called them, spare parts. It turns out the trap that he set with the strings was not that impressive. Those shinobis were just incompetent. All they had to do was cut it with chakra, infusing through their kunais. Or just don't walk into it at first. He had set the trap and made them follow behind him, leaving trails, and they walked directly into it. Naruto wasn't sure how he felt about Victor's using the loggers and their families as distractions, but he stopped them from getting killed though. Few days out of Konoha, he realized the world was a much harsher place than he thought, while he had lived his sheltered life inside the Uzumaki compound. By the time he was done, he seemed rather lonely as he talked about himself. That is why he was so open. As he sealed the body parts away, there was only 4 remaining souls that was floating in the air. Most of the house had been burned down, but the flames were still going. As Naruto noticed, the 4 souls were smaller than before, and they start to fade away slightly. So I told you all the dirty details. Now what's your story? Said Victor. He couldn't tell this guy the truth. The main reason why he left was because he didn't want people to find out what he can do. As Naruto walked over to one of the souls, I gained a newly found bloodline. First my family to awaken it. They did not like the ability to be turned into a breeding stock or weapon, so I run for it. The soul was cold, and it was about the size of an apple now that it had shrunk down. Really? So what's your thing? I met this guy once. I can turn his entire body to water, and that was really cool. Naruto turned as he had the soul in his hand, as he brought it up to his mouth. This was the reason why he made his mask in 2 parts. As he opened it, exposing his mouth. As he placed soul in his mouth and swallowed it whole, he felt his chakra system tremble and strain until it tripled. As it combined the new chakra that was forced into it, and it now felt stable, as he felt so warm. Victor watched as Naruto grabbed the other soul. It was then that he saw the blood stain on the ground. Are those what I think they are? He asked. Well, that depends. If you think they're souls of the shinobis that you just killed, then yes. I can not only see them after something dies, but when I touch them and eat them, their chakra is added to my own. My body needs a mixture of souls and normal food to survive. You're so skinny. Let me guess. You just recently found out that you have to eat souls after unlocking your chakra, meaning that you were starving. Naruto had to give it to him. He was smarter than he thought, and he also didn't seem to care that he was eating human souls. As Victor saw the look on Naruto's face, dude, I'm a freaking grave robber, nut job. You eating souls is not that big of a deal. Though I doubt you'd have been used as a breeding stock wherever you came from. A skill like that is more suitable for a rogue clan. You, my friend, as far as people concerned, are a feeding parasite who needs to feed all people to survive. That's how most of us end up becoming rogue clans after the clan wars. Just another outcast, or as the village and ninjas call us, just another lone ninja. It was then that Naruto started to think it over. Sure, his plan to go to Whirlpool sound good, but where would he find souls? Sure, animals kept him, but they wouldn't make him strong. As Victor spoke up, so, are you heading to water country too? What? Said Naruto. Land of water, you going? Said Victor. With a hidden mist civil war going on, it's a perfect place for outcasts like us. More people killing each other. There's always work, and not to mention, you could eat a lot of souls there. As Naruto thought about it, yeah, I guess so, he said. Great, we can go together then. By the way, what's with that stupid mask? It's to hide my identity, said Naruto. Oh, okay. So, are you any good at digging? Victor asks. But guys, to be insubscribe right here. If you want to see more, do like, subscribe, comment down below, turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in social media platform. But I'm off for now. See you guys soon. Peace.